Good morning, dears, and welcome to Super Coaching of UPSC by textbook. And I am Pradeep, your economy mentor. And today we meet here to discuss important topic of Indian economy, that is poverty, inequality, and poverty. So, am I audible? I think I am audible to all. So, first let me tell that what is the meaning of inequality. First, I will define inequality, then we will focus on inequality, concept of inequality, then we will focus on the poverty. So, let me tell that in what manner we are going to proceed. First, I will define inequality, then after that we will talk about the measurement of inequality. In that measurement of inequality, we will discuss Palmer ratio, we will discuss Lorentz curve, we will discuss the Gini coefficient. After that, we will discuss regions for inequality in India, and then we will discuss the measures taken by government to eradicate inequality in India. After that, we will discuss the poverty, we will define the poverty, and we will also discuss the types of poverty, that is absolute poverty and relative poverty. After that, we will discuss need for to calculate to measure poverty. What is the need to measure poverty? And that will finish our topic or today's lecture, and we will continue that means tomorrow. So, let us start our session. So, when we talk about the inequality, what is the meaning of inequality? That means when we talk about the inequality, when we talk about the inequality, inequality has two aspects. One is quantitative inequality, other is qualitative inequality. Qualitative. So, quantitative means that economic inequality. Quantitative means we are going to focus on economic inequality, but whereas that qualitative inequality, that means it is going to take into account the economic inequality as well as inequality in opportunity. So, that means today's lecture we will focus mainly on quantitative inequality. So, let me summarize that what I want to discuss, that when we talk about the inequality, what is inequality? Inequality is nothing but uneven distribution of resources and opportunity among the various sections of society. What is inequality? Inequality is uneven distribution. Uneven distribution of what? Uneven distribution of assets and opportunity among the sections of society. If there is uneven distribution and uneven distribution of resources, that is assets, or uneven distribution of opportunity, then it is, and among the sections of society, then it is called as, that is going to lead the inequality, that is going to generate inequality in the society. So, what is going to be that that inequality may be, that means when we talk about that means uneven distribution or lack of access to the resources, that is nothing but economic inequality, that is nothing but quantitative aspect of inequality. When we talk about, whereas when we talk about that unavailability or unaccess or not access to the that means opportunity, lack of opportunity, okay, lack of opportunity is nothing but qualitative, and this qualitative is going to include, this qualitative inequality is going to include quantitative as well as qualitative. So, what is going to be, but in today's lecture we are basically going to focus on quantitative inequality. So, what is the meaning of it? Just I want to say that inequality may be that means on the basis of caste, that is known as caste inequality. The inequality may be on the basis of gender, that is known as gender inequality. The inequality may be on the basis of that ethnicity, that is known as ethnic inequality. But in today's lecture we are not going to focus on these aspects. That means that is nothing but general dimensions, or that is going to include holistically all types of inequality. But here that means this is, since it is a that means economics session of related to Indian economy. So here in today's session we are only going to focus on economic aspect of inequality, that is economic inequality, or that is known as quantitative aspect of inequality. So since it is session related to economy, so that's why we are only going to focus on economic inequality or quantitative aspects of inequality. So what is the meaning of economic inequality? The meaning of economic inequality is that uneven distribution of assets, in the society, among the pupils. If there is uneven distribution of resources, that is assets, in the society, that is going to lead economic inequality. And in other words, we can say that how, to what percentage or to what amount there is uneven distribution of money among the people, that is nothing but economic inequality. That is nothing but economic inequality. So I am going to repeat once again. As I said that we are going to focus on quantitative aspect of inequality, that is economic inequality. So what is the meaning of economic inequality? That means we just want to focus on that how unevenly the resources are being distributed in the society. Because of that, a group of people is rich, whereas other group of people is poor. So, and this is because of uneven distribution of resources, uneven distribution of assets. So that is nothing but economic inequality, that is nothing but quantitative aspects, and today's lecture we are going to focus on that. Okay. So first that means I try to explain, and economic inequality can be that means defined as well, that how or to what percentage the resources are unevenly distributed in the society. That is the, now we are going to focus on measures of inequality, how we measure the inequality in the society. So for the measurement of inequality in society, especially economic inequality is being measured in the form of Palmer ratio. That means Palmer ratio that was given by the Gabriel Palmer in 1905. So that was that Palmer ratio, this was given by Gabriel Palmer, and we will discuss how it works, what is the meaning of it. We will discuss it in very detail. So what is Palmer ratio? So the inequality can be measured through Palmer ratio. Inequality in the society can, especially economic inequality in the society, can be measured in the form of Lorenz curve. Inequality in the society can also be measured with the help of Gini coefficient. Okay, there is quintile ratio as well, but that means there can be decile ratio as well, but we can discuss these things only, but we can discuss those things also. But the thing is, majorly when we talk about the measurement, that most of the time economic inequality is measured in a Palmer ratio, in the form of Palmer ratio, in the form of Lorenz curve, in the form of Gini coefficient. So we are going to discuss these in detail. So what is the meaning of Palmer ratio? So first let me tell you that what is Palmer ratio. Palmer ratio was given by Gabriel Palmer, and he tried to represent that how much inequality is there, how much that means resources, how unequal resource distribution is there between top 10% pupils of the society and the lowest 40% people in the society. That means this Palmer ratio is nothing but ratio between top 10% richest people richest pupil and top 40% of poorest pupil in the society. What is Palmer ratio and how it works and why it works, we will definitely discuss. Okay, but first let me give you the idea that what is Palmer ratio and what was the argument of Mr. Gabriel for calculating this. Why he included top 10% and top 40%, we will discuss that thing also. But before that, let me tell you that what the Palmer ratio represent. What Palmer ratio represent? That unequal distribution of resources among top 10% people of society and lowest or poorest 40% people of society. That means this shows the disparity between top 10% people and poorest 40% people in the society. And how it works? Before that, let me tell you quantile ratio. There is something which is known as quantile ratio. What is the meaning of quantile ratio? The meaning of quantile ratio is that how the resources are distributed between richest 20%, the ratio between richest 20% of people and poorest 20% of people. Poorest 20% of people. The quantile ratio represent, in order to understand the Palmer ratio, we will have to discuss the quantile ratio. What is quantile ratio? Quantile ratio represents the that means distribution of resources or distribution of assets among top 20, that means richest 20% people in respect to poorest 20% people. That how differently the resources are being distributed between top or richest 20% and poorest 20% people in society. That is nothing but quantile ratio. And when we talk about the quantile ratio, it is said that as per NSSO data, that means top 20%, top 20% are having, top 20% is having 44.7% of resources, whereas lowest 20% or the poorest 20% is only having the income of 8.1%. I just want to say, please dears, and we will use this figure for drawing the Lorentz curve as well, that for as per the NSSO data, in the case of Indian society, richest 20% are having cumulative income of top 20% people in society is 44.7%, whereas the poorest 20% cumulative income is only 8.1%. What is the meaning of cumulative? Suppose I say that 1 to 10% people are having the resources 3% and 10 to 20% people are having the resources of 8%. What is going to be cumulative? That means what is going to be the income of that means first 20%, it is going to be 8%. That means we have to include 3% plus 5%. That is the meaning of cumulative. So what is quantile ratio? Quantile ratios represent the relationship of resources between richest 20% and poorest 20%. And what is that ratio? The ratio is, on the basis of that, we can say that the top 20% or richest 20% is having cumulative resources 44.7%, whereas the lowest or the poorest 20% is having the cumulative income of 8.1% only. 8.1% only. So this is the quantile ratio. This represents the quantile ratio. That means how that means 20% richest and 20% poorest. Now Then in order to understand Palma ratio and why Mr. Palma used this, we will discuss this. So in order to understand Palma ratio, that means Palma ratio also, that is more advanced than quantile ratio, that Palma ratio is more advanced than quantile ratio, and Palma ratio represents the relationship between top 10% or richest 10% people in society and poorest 40% people in society. That how resources are being distributed among top or richest 10% people of society and poorest 40% people in society. That is Palma ratio. And how it we calculated and why Mr. Gabriel Palma used this. Okay, he was of the opinion, he was of the opinion that when we talk about decile ratio, that means like whatever we have discussed the quantile, that in the same way we can discuss the decile means 10% on the basis of 10%. And he was of the opinion, Mr. Gabriel was of the opinion, that when we talk about the, that means there is no too much difference, there is not too much difference between the pupil who is having that 60% to 90%. The that means cumulative income of pupil who are in the cumulative bracket of 60 to 90%, they are not having too much difference, in their income, because they are known as middle class pupil. That means these pupil or the 50 to 60%, that means the pupil in the decile ratio of 50 to 90%, they are known as middle class pupil. And middle class people do not have too much disparity in their income. They do not have too much disparity in their income. That's why it will be better, in order to get the inequality, in order to get the disparity, it will be better to calculate what is the income of richest 10%, what is the income of richest 20%, and what is the income of poorest 40%. Because when we talk about the 50 to 90%, these people are middle class people, and there is not too much disparity in their income. That's why to have the real picture or to have the better idea about the inequality in the society, it will be better to calculate the resource distribution between richest 10% of the people of society and poorest 40% people of society. That how the resources are being distributed between richest 10% people of society and poorest 40% people of society. That is the idea of Gabriel Palma. That's why it is known as Palma ratio, because he was of the opinion that in middle class there is not too much disparity. Why? Because they all are almost same. Because 50 to 90% decimal that pupil, they are not too much difference because of their middle class. The if we want to have the real picture or we want to have the idea of inequality, that means inequality is more when we are going to calculate that how resources are being distributed among richest 10% of the people of society and poorest 40% people of society. That's why he calculated the ratio of distribution of resources between top or richest 10% people of society in respect to poorest 40% people of society. That was the Palma ratio. And what is that means the value of Palma ratio in case of India? Let me tell you. That that Palmer ratio in case of India is 1.4, meaning what it means? It means that top 10% or richest 10% pupil of society is having income 1.4 times than the income of poorest 40% pupil in society. I think this concept of Palmer ratio is very clear and crystal clear. Let me tell you once again that what I want to say. I just want to say that Mr. Palmer, Gabriel Palmer, before the Palmer ratio, we were having the quantile ratio or decile ratio. Palmer decile ratio and quantile ratio. Decile ratio was representing the relation between the richest 10% people of society and poorest 10% people of society, how the resources are being distributed. And quantile ratio was representing the how the resources are being distributed cumulatively among top or richest 20% people of society and with respect to poorest 20% people of society. Okay, so that was the quantile ratio, but he was of the opinion that this ratio is not giving the holistic picture of the inequality in society, because he was talking about that it is not taking into consideration that that how there is difference. Okay, because he was talking about the middle class. That means he was talking about that since there is not too much difference between the income of the middle class that starts from 50% bracket to 90% bracket, so that's why the maximum disparity is between top or richest 10% and lowest 40%. So in order to get the better idea of inequality in the society, it will be better to calculate the ratio or to calculate the how resources are being distributed among richest 10% people of society in respect to poorest 40% people of society. And in case of India, the value of Palmer ratio for India is 1.4. What it represents? It represents that cumulatively 10% richest of the people are earning more than 1.4 times more than poorest 40% people earning. That is the meaning of Palmer ratio. I think it is clear. Now we are going to proceed further and we are going to discuss the next concept, and that next concept is Lorentz curve. And please try to understand that what is Lorentz curve. That Lorentz curve is nothing but a graphical representation of inequality. And how we draw and why we draw, we will discuss that, and what it represents, we will discuss that. So what is the Lorentz curve? As I said, it is nothing but graphical representation of inequality. Representation of inequality in society. Okay, Lorentz curve shows the graphical representation of inequality in society. And for that, what we do, that means on y-axis we are going to take the cumulative income. That means on y-axis we are going to draw. Please listen me carefully that how it works. and what is the significance of it? Please try to understand it. That means on this is origin. Okay, for drawing a Lorentz curve, we are going to make a square. We are going to make a square, and this is nothing but suppose origin, and this we are going to divide the 4 arms of a square. Okay, and this is 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4. Okay, and similarly, like what I want to say, that for drawing the Lorentz curve, this is origin, and on the y-axis we are taking cumulative income. On the y-axis we are taking cumulative income, and whereas on the x-axis we are taking cumulative population. That means we are going to divide this x-axis and y-axis in 10%. That means at the point of 10%. So that means here we are taking 10%, here we are taking 20%. We are going to take 20%, here we are going to take 30%, here we are going to take 40%, here we are going to take 50%, here 60%, 80%, 90% and 100. Okay, something like that. Similarly, 10%, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 90. Okay, 10, 20, 30, 40%, 50%, 60%, 70%, 80%, 90%, and this is 100%. Okay, please dears, try to understand that what it represents. The Lorentz curve, as I said, that Lorentz curve determines or represents the graphical representation of inequality in the society. That the how much inequality is there in the society, it is represented by Lorentz curve. Okay, so how we can, that means draw the Lorentz curve. For drawing the Lorentz curve, we need to have the cumulative. That means we are going to focus on two things. One is cumulative income of the pupil, and other thing we are taking the cumulative population. That means 10% pupil are, that means 0% people are earning 0% and 100% people are earning 100%. That is the meaning. So that means on y-axis we are taking cumulative that income, on x-axis we are taking cumulative population. Okay, and like this is zero origin, and the 0% people are earning 0% population earning 0%, and 100% is earning 100. Similarly, this is the scenario. Okay, so what happened, and that means that the diagonal which bisects the square, that is known as 45-degree line. This is 45-degree line, and this 45-degree line is line of perfect equality. This 45-degree line is the line of perfect equality. This 45-degree line is the line of perfect equality. There is no inequality if any country is lying in this line, on this line. If any country is lying on the line of 45-degree, which bisects the diagonal, that means which bisects the square, or we can say that which is the diagonal of the square. Okay, so that means this is about the perfect inequality. What happened? As I said that as per the NSSO data, let me rub it, then I am going to suppose this is as per NSSO, data of NSSO, what I said that top 20% is having the income, cumulative income of 44.7%. Okay, richest 20% in India, richest 20% in India is owning cumulatively 44.7% resources in India, and poorest 20% as per NSSO data. This is NSSO data, that as per NSSO data, poorest 20% people in India is cumulative having the resources equal to 1.1%, 8.1% only, 8.1% only. If we depict this figure on this, that means we want to depict this data on this figure, how will we depict this? I just want to explain that thing. Okay, what is going to be that this is origin, so 20% is poorest 20%, that is cumulative population is on x-axis, so that means 20% is here, 0 to population, 20% population is owning 8.1%. So 8.1% is that means on we have to focus on income, cumulative income, and how much cumulative income is, it is 8.1%. so 8.1% is going to be, that point is going to be somewhere like this. This is going to be, that point is going to be somewhere like this, okay. Now we have to that means depict this data, data of richest 20%, that richest 20% as per NSSO data, richest 20% is cumulative having the resources 44%, 44.7%. So how we can draw it? That means we are talking about richest 20%. Okay, so this is very difficult to draw that richest 20%, but we can interpret from here. If richest 20%, please dears, try to understand, if richest 20% is owning 44.7% resources cumulatively, that means it represents that poorest 80% is owning cumulatively how much? It is going to be 45.3%. It is going to be 45.3%. Let me. That means, as I said, that Lorenz curve represents the graphical representation. Lorenz curve is the graphical representation of inequality in society. And in case of inequality in society, in case of India, as per NSSO data, the top 20% or richest 20% is cumulatively owning 44.4%, 44.7% resources in India, whereas poorest 20% is cumulatively owning 8.1%, just 8.1% resources in India. Now we want to that means draw this data on this figure, okay, on cumulative, that means Lorenz curve. Through that data we want to draw a Lorenz curve. How we will? We are going to discuss that thing. So what is going to be, on x-axis we have taken cumulative population, on x-axis we have taken cumulative population, that 0% population, 10% population, 20% population, 30%, 40%, 50% and 100%. Similarly, on y-axis we have taken the cumulative income, 10% cumulative income, 20% cumulative income, 30% cumulative income, 40%, 50%, similarly 60%. Okay. Now we have to depict this data that poorest 20% is cumulatively owning, and I already talked about what is the meaning of cumulative. Let me explain once again. 0 to 10%, that means 0 to 10% is owning 3% resources, suppose, and 10 to 20% people are owning 5% resources. So when we talk about that 0 to 20% people are owning 8% cumulative resources. Similarly, suppose 20 to 30% people are owning again 2% or whatever it may be, 2%. So that means 0 to 30% people are owning the resources 8 plus 2 equal to 10%. This is the meaning of cumulative. This is the meaning of cumulative. Okay. So now here I want to draw this figure, or I want to depict this data in this figure. Through this data we want to draw a Lorenz curve. How we can draw a Lorenz curve in case of Indian society? We are going to discuss that. For that, what we have to do, that we have to depict this data. So for that means 20%, poorest 20% is having 8.1%. So cumulative population of 20% is only 8.1%. So we are on x-axis, we are going to take 20%, on y-axis we are going to draw 8.1%. So that means 10% is somewhere here, so 8 must be here, and 20% this is going to be, that means 8% is going to be here, 20, so this is going to be point. Similarly, when we talk about the richest 20%, richest 20% is only 44.7%. Okay, so it is difficult to draw that how we can draw the richest 20%, we cannot. So we can draw a conclusion from here. We can draw a conclusion from here that if richest 20% is owning 44.7% resources, that means poorest 80% must be owning 45.3%. 45.3%. So that means cumulative population of 80% is owning resources 45.3%. So we have to get another point, that is 80% population 44.53. That means something like this, something. Okay, so this is going to be somewhere around this. Okay, somewhere around this. Okay, somewhere around this. This is going to be the point. This is going to be the point. So when we are going to, that means, and we very well know that 0% people is owning 0% resources, and 100% cumulative people are owning 100%. So we got 4 point, we got this point, we got this point, and we got this point, and we got this point, and we are going to draw a line like this, which represents the inequality in the society, which represents the Lorentz curve. This is nothing but Lorentz curve. This is nothing but, that means this is perfect equality, line of perfect equality we discussed. We discussed this line of 45 degrees, line of perfect equality. So how much distance is there? As much distance is there from the line of equality, complete equality, that much inequality is there in the society. As much distance is there of this curve, of the Lorentz curve, from the line of equality, that much inequality is prevalent in the society. That much inequality is prevalent in the society. So that means this area represents the inequality in the society. So whenever this is going to be more, that means more inequality in the society. Okay, so this is the, and in this way we draw the Lorentz curve. And in case of India, so I think it is very clear. If there is any doubt, let me know. If there is any doubt regarding the Lorentz curve, let me know. Dears, if there is any doubt regarding the Lorentz curve, let me know. Lorentz curve represent the inequality, graphical inequality, represent graphical representation of inequality. So what happened in case of Lorentz curve, that as much distance is there of the Lorentz curve from the line of equality, that much inequality is there in the society. That much inequality is there in the society. Suppose we took another example. Suppose we took another example to draw a Lorentz curve. Suppose we took another example that lowest 20% is owning something like 5% resources in the society, and top 30% is owning 70%, or we can say that 70% resources in the society. Okay, so now we want to draw a Lorentz curve of this. So what is that? Poorest 20% is owning 5%, cumulatively owning 5% resources, and richest 30% people in society is cumulatively owning 70% resources in the society. And we want to draw a inequality curve or Lorentz curve for this data. Then what is going to be? Suppose 20%, 5 is somewhere around this, okay, and this is 20%, so this is going to be the point somewhere around this, and richest 30% is owning 70%. From here we can conclude that poorest 70% is cumulatively owning 30% resources in the society. So we can draw this figure that poorest 70% is somewhere like this, 70%, and they are owning cumulatively 30%. So 30% is somewhere around 10, 20 and 30. 30% meaning point is going to be somewhere around this, and 0% is owning 0. So from this we can draw a Lorentz curve. That Lorentz curve is going to be somewhere around this. So meaning that in this country there is more inequality in comparison to India, because there is more distance. That as much distance is there from the line of equality, that much inequality is there. So in this country there is more inequality, and which can be depicted with data as well. So that is the idea of Lorentz curve. That Lorentz curve determines or represent a graphical representation. Lorentz curve is graphical representation of inequality in the society. And this 45-degree line of 45-degree, which is diagonal of the square, is line of perfect equality in the society, determines the line of perfect equality. So in case of developed country, the inequality will be low, whereas in case of developing country inequality is more. That's why in case of developing country this distance will be that means low from the line of perfect equality, whereas in case of developing country it will be more. Okay, so this is about the Lorentz curve, and I think it is very clear. And this was that means created by Max O. Lorentz, and I think it is clear. If there is any doubt, let me know. Now we are going to proceed further, and we are going to discuss the Gini coefficient. Okay, and Gini coefficient. What is the meaning of Gini coefficient? The meaning of Gini coefficient is, it is nothing but it determines the relationship between, okay, that means it is being calculated on the basis of Lorentz curve, and it is nothing but ratio of area this is nothing but this is nothing but ratio of area of Gini coefficient with, when we want to calculate the Gini coefficient, please listen me and listen me carefully. First rub, I am going to rub it, then I am going to explain. in case of Gini coefficient, please dears, Gini coefficient is nothing that the ratio between this area between the line of equality and Lorentz curve to this area. That means, what is the ratio between the area of Lorentz curve to the line of perfect equality? This area, the relationship between this area or ratio between this area and this area, that is nothing but Gini coefficient. And the value of Gini coefficient, because this is perfect equality, so that means the ratio is, that means the value of Gini coefficient vary from 0 to 1. This is nothing but, Gini coefficient is nothing but the ratio between this area and this area, that is nothing but Gini coefficient. So it is being calculated with the help of Lorentz curve, and that values vary. In case of Gini coefficient, the value is 0 to 1. If there is 0, that means there is no difference, that means the countries are at the equality, perfect equality, there is perfect equality. If the value is 1, that the value of Gini coefficient is 1, that means there is perfect inequality in the society. So in case of India, the value of Gini coefficient is 0.336. That means that it represents that there is 33.6% inequality in Indian society. That makes sense that in case of Indian society, there is 33.6% inequality in the society. In Indian society, there is 33.6% inequality. Let me repeat once again that what is Gini coefficient? Gini coefficient is being determined with the help of the Lorentz curve. And what is the Gini coefficient? Gini coefficient is nothing but the ratio between this area between the line of perfect equality to the area of Lorentz curve, and the area between the area below the line of perfect equality, that is the Gini coefficient. Okay, and the value of Gini coefficient is 0 to 1. This varies from 0 to 1, and in case of India, the value of Gini coefficient is 0.336. It means that there is 33.6% inequality in Indian society. As per Gini coefficient, there is 33.6% inequality in India. Now, I try to explain it. There is perfect inequality. The Gini coefficient is 0. So there is perfect equality in the society. Perfect equality in this country. There is perfect equality. That Gini coefficient, the value of Gini coefficient is greater than 2. So there is inequality. But that means in country 2, the inequality is less in comparison to country 3. Similarly, there is more inequality or perfect inequality. There is perfect inequality because the value of Gini coefficient in case of country 4, the value of Gini coefficient is equal to 1. That's why there is perfect inequality in country 4. Whereas in country A, the value of Gini coefficient is 0. Therefore, it is perfectly perfect equality in country A, whereas perfect inequality in country 4. Okay, so value vary from 0 to 1, and in case of India, it is 0.336. That means 33.6% inequality in India. Now we are going to proceed further, and we are going to discuss the causes. What are the causes of inequality in India? We are going to focus the causes of inequality in India. That causes of inequality in India is that very basic causes: difference in the ownership of wealth, ownership of land and wealth. Other is institution of private property, and inheritance laws. Other is, that is very common, and other is difference in the access to the education and training. Pupils are having different access. Some pupils have the that means rich pupil or rich that means kids have the access to the good quality of education. That's why there is differences in the education and training, and that's why they have the better access to the quality education. Different in the access of credit. Okay, that means earlier when there was that means most of the people were under the unorganized. That means the especially farmers were taking the loan from the unorganized sector, and that means they were taking the loans from money lenders, and they were that means taking all the resources from the farmers on the name of interest. So that means that access to the credit. Okay, that when before the nationalization of banks, the farmers were having only source of that means funds from the money lenders, and that was the cause of exploitation. So that may be the reason for inequality. Other is leakage in government development programs, that when government is running the development programs, there is leakage, but now there is Gem Trinity to plug this leakage became with Gem Trinity, Jandhan, Aadhaar, Mobile, Gem Trinity. Okay, now we are transferring the funds, that means that funds or the subsidies of the farmers directly to their account, just to plug the that means leakage. Okay, other is inherent differences in the ability of individuals. There are inherent differences as well. Other is scarcity of capital formation leading to unemployment. That means when there is inequality or inequality in the society, that means the capital formation will not be that much good. If the capital formation will not be there, that means there will not be investment. When there will not be investment, there will not be production. When there will not be production, there will be unemployment. Okay, there will be more unemployment. Okay, so that was the reason. Okay, inadequate infrastructure, especially social infrastructure, that means health infrastructure, education infrastructure, physical infrastructure. There is inadequate social infrastructure, that is also leading to inequality in the society. Now we are going to focus that what measures government has taken in order to plug these inequality. One is government has taken the land reforms. Okay, government had done the land reforms. Not only land reform, they have established the public sector undertaking, and whatever that means that PSUs, and especially Maharatna, Miniratna, and Navratna, these companies are earning the profit, and whatever profit they are earning, that is being distributed for the welfare of the people. Okay, so that is establishment of public sector undertaking, especially Maharatna, Miniratna, Navratna. They are earning the revenue for the government, and that is being distributed for the welfare of the downtrodden, So that is, and nationalization of banks. Okay, nationalization of banks, so that the farmers can get the access to the loan from the organized sector at lower rate of interest. Okay, so that is also one of the, and the government is also running the development programs for eradicating poverty, as well as development program for employment generation. There is lot many poverty eradication programs that means being run by the government, as well as there is lot many employment programs as well, like Manrega. Okay, so government is running the development programs. Okay, and there is social security programs as well, that old age pension yojana, that means old age pension, and other is widow pension, etc. Other is, there is skill development programs as well, skill India, like rural development program as well. There is urban development program like Amrit, and there is educational development program as well. Okay, Digital India, and women empowerment. We are having the many schemes for women empowerment, as well as there is proportional or progressive tax system. We can say that progressive tax system is also the measure for eradicating poverty. Progressive tax system means the people who have more that means income, they have to pay income tax at higher rate of interest. Okay, so that means we are having the progressive tax system. That is also the measures to ensure the equality in the society. Other we can say that promotion to the MSMEs, promotion to MSMEs, and since MSMEs are labor intensive, MSMEs are labor intensive, so that means since they are labor intensive, so they are going to increase employment in the society, employment in the society. Okay, so that means when there will be employment, that means pupils will have the economic resources, or people will have the income. So that is the measures taken by the government in general. Now we are going to proceed further, and we are going to discuss the poverty. We are going to discuss the poverty. So what is poverty? Poverty is nothing but a situation in which the individuals or section of individual is not able to meet their basic needs. I think it is going too fast. Let me remind once again. Okay, I think definition was too fast. Okay, so I am going to that poverty is nothing but a situation. Poverty is nothing but a situation in which what is individuals or group of individuals in the society is unable to meet their basic needs. That means poverty refers to a situation in which individuals or group of individuals in the society is not able to meet their basic needs. Basic needs are in the form of clothing, housing, education, health facility, etc. So that means the individuals who are not able to meet their basic requirements or basic needs, they are considered to be poor. They are considered to be poor, and that means in case of India, there or we can say that when we talk about the types of poverty, poverty can be categorized under two categories. One is known as absolute poverty, other is known as relative poverty. One is known as absolute poverty, other is known as relative poverty. What is the meaning of absolute poverty? That means pupils are not able to meet their basic amenities. It is expressed in the form of poverty line. Okay, meaning that suppose this is the poverty line, this is poverty line. Okay, that means a poverty line is being decided on the basis of expenditure, income expenditure. That means just to meet their basic needs, absolute poverty, please try to understand. Absolute poverty means suppose to meet our basic needs means that means clothing, need fooding, housing, education, and health facility. Suppose these are the basic needs, and to meet these basic needs, suppose that the household need to spend 500 rupees or 600 rupees. This is hypothetical. As per government data, it is very low. Okay, we will discuss. Okay, that was impractical, but the thing is, suppose it is that basic needs are going to be fulfilled in the form of clothing. If people have the access to the clothing, people have access to the fooding, if people have the access to the housing, and people have access to the education facility, and people have the access to the health facility. Okay, then we can consider that they are able to meet their basic requirements. Okay, and to meet all these needs, suppose that the expenditure of 500 rupees are needed. So this poverty line will be on 500 rupees. So whosoever is there that who is not able to meet, okay, who is not able to spend 500 rupees on a monthly basis, they will be considered as absolute poor. They will be considered as absolute poor. Okay, and their situation will be absolute poverty. Okay, so that means that this is nothing but deprivation. Absolute poverty is nothing but deprivation from basic amenities, and it is being expressed in the form of poverty line. So whosoever is below the poverty line, they will be considered as poor, and whosoever is above the poverty line, they will be considered not to be considered as poor. Okay, and as much if the some people are here, that means they are not poor, but they are very close to the poverty. Okay, some pupils are here, some pupils may be here. Okay, so that is the case of absolute poverty. Okay, when we talk about the relative poverty, it is expressed in the relation to difference of income and expenditure. That means what is going to be relative poverty? Relative poverty means it is someone is going to have their going to compare their economic condition with the other condition of others economic condition. That means if A is going to compare their economic condition with B, and B is suppose more rich in comparison to A, so we can say that A is poor in comparison to B. So that is nothing but relative poverty. That means we can say that means most of the people in India is poor in comparison to Ambani, okay, or Adani. Okay, so this is nothing but relative poverty. This is nothing but relative poverty. Okay, so in case of relative poverty, it is expressed in relation to difference in income, expenditure level of various sections of society. That how much various sections there is that income difference among the various sections of society, and that's why there is it is measured. It measures the inequality because there is difference in the income level of various sections of society. That's why it is going to create inequality. So it is expressed in the form of inequality. So this is about the types of poverty. Now we are going to focus on measurement of poverty. When we talk about the measurement of poverty, why there is need to measure? That means there is need to measure because there is need to have the access to the impact of government development programs. That means to eradicate poverty, government is running development programs. So whether that means that means development programs are having any benefits to the population or not, that is going to be that means identified only when we have the idea of poverty. And second thing, we can identify through the poverty, that we can identify the beneficiary that for whom we need to run the development programs. So the need for poverty, measurement of poverty is just to have the access whether the development programs have any significance, have any benefit to the poor or not. Second thing, that means at the same time they are also need to be measured for identifying that who is poor in the society and who is rich in the society. And that is about the today's session. Tomorrow we will continue with the topics. Okay, and today we finish here only. Thank you very much, dears. And just to have the that means the PDF of this class, just join my Telegram ID. Pradeep sir textbook. I am going to repeat once again that to get the PDF of this lecture, just join my Telegram ID, Pradeep sir textbook. Just search this ID and join it. You will get the PDF of this class there. Thank you very much, dears. Thanks a lot. We finish here. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. If there is any doubt, let me know. If there is any doubt regarding this lecture, let me know. Otherwise, we are going to finish it here itself. Is there any doubt? Thank you, dears. Thanks a lot. Let me finish it.